I'd like to take you behind the scenes to the origin of my second book.
Welcome to the podcast with your host, Craig T. Owens. Craig's new book, When Sheep Bite, is available now at craigtowens.com.
A couple of years ago, I wrote Shepherd Leadership, and it was well received for the most part. But as I traveled around and I talked with pastors about the principles in this book, I was getting a pretty consistent feedback from a lot of people. They would say something like this: I like these principles. I think I could apply the principles in this book, except for the fact that I'm dealing with some problems right now. Once I get these problems taken care of, then I can move forward with this. And when I would ask, well, what problems are you dealing with? They would talk about the misbehaving sheep in their pasture. And because I heard this so many times, it really began to develop the idea in my heart and my mind about writing this book, When Sheep Bite. Now, I already shared that the initial cover design from my graphic designer portrayed a sheep that was the angry sheep, the sheep that had caused the shepherd to run away from his or her responsibilities there. And so the book I wanted to write was really a book about how to confront these sheep, how to sort of whap them on the fuzzy little nose, biblically speaking, and correct them. But as I began writing that part, I felt the Holy Spirit sort of whap me on the nose a little bit with this question: have you ever made a mistake? Have you ever been at fault? Is it possible that your actions caused the sheep to bite? Ouch. Got my attention, and it turned me to writing a section of the book that I never intended to write. In fact, the entire first section of the book is all a pastor's inward look at his own heart, at his own attitude. I was recently discussing this with a group of pastors. Take a look. When I was writing this book, the first thing that I wanted to just kind of jump into is like, okay, here's all the different ways that the sheep have bitten us, and what is our biblical response? How should we respond to this? And as I was pondering that, I really had to kind of think for a second and step back and say, well, but is it true that it's always the sheep? It's 100% the sheep's fault that they bit us? Do I bear any responsibility in this at all? Now, listen, I know there have been times for all of us that we're blindsided by something, and we say, oh, I didn't do anything. I don't know where that came from. They're just an unhealthy person. Yeah, that may be the case, and that was the reason why they bit us. But then we also have to say, well, but what was my reaction after that? Was it, did I even react to that bite the same way? And so I ended up kind of setting aside the bites that I was talking about, and I wrote a first part of the book. In fact, in the introduction to that first section, I say to my readers, you may be tempted to immediately jump to the second section and start looking at the bites, because it's almost like in that section, you might be thinking about, well, this is how I get to whap the sheep on the nose after they have misbehaved. But the first section of the book is really saying, well, wait a minute, let me step back and review my own life. Is it possible that the reason why this sheep is biting me is that God is using that sheep bite to get my attention on something? Is that a possibility? That perhaps there is something that is in a blind spot that I haven't seen, and God has been gracious enough to let the sheep bite me in that spot so that I could turn and look and say, oh, there's a spot here that I was unaware of. If we don't take the time to reflect for a minute and say, what happened here? What was there a part that I had in this? We're never going to uncover that. And so I think that that's the first part, where we have to at least be open to the possibility that maybe that bite was a gift from God to open our eyes to something. And that's I sincerely believe that When Sheep Bite is going to be a huge source of healing for pastors who have been hurt. And once the pastor gets healthy, they're going to be able to help sheep that have been hurt, because the sheep have been bitten by other sheep as well. So please pick up a copy of this book for yourself if you're a pastor, or if you love your pastor, pick up a copy for them as well today.
Craig's new book, When Sheep Bite, is available now. To order, go to craigtowens.com.